All right, hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're all about sunrooms.
Sunrooms.
Yeah, they sound amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love the idea of just like being bathed in sunshine?
Right.
But before we all get ahead of ourselves, we need to tackle a really important question,
Yeah.
and that is, do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not just about, avoiding a little slap on the wrist from the city.
Right.
It can turn into a real nightmare if you don't get those permits, especially when it calls time to sell your home.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
When you're trying to sell your home and you've poured all this love and energy
Oh, yeah.
and money into making this beautiful sunroom,
Right.
and then a buyer comes along,
And then their inspector's like, whoa, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
This isn't up to code.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're in a whole legal battle.
Yeah.
You've got all this weight on your shoulder.
Exactly. You're faced with all these costly repairs. You might even have to tear the whole thing down.
Oh,
Believe me, I've seen it happen. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? You do.
yeah, you do. Okay, that's a pretty scary thought.
It is.
So, to help us navigate this potential permit minefield, we're diving deep today. We've got some information from Sunspace Charleston.
Oh, yeah.
They are a sunroom company. They're based in Charleston, South Carolina.
Great company.
Yeah, I've heard they're amazing. They've got a stellar reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And their website is full of insights about this whole permit process. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
They are a great resource, especially if you're in that area. Now, before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty, let's just break it down. What exactly is a building permit?
Yeah, I think most people have heard that term,
Right.
building permit, but I don't know if they really know what it means. It's
Yeah.
more than just paperwork, right?
It's way more than paperwork. Think of it like this.
Okay.
A building permit is a seal of approval. It's from your local government.
Okay.
And they're basically saying, okay, any construction work you're doing,
Mhm.
we've looked it over and it meets all the necessary safety standards, building codes.
Right, so it's protecting you.
Exactly. Protecting you and the community.
Okay, so it's like having an expert come in
Yeah,
and look at your plans. And
absolutely.
say, yeah, this is good, this is structurally sound,
Good to go.
this is up to par. And that's really important when we're talking about sunrooms because essentially you're adding on to your house.
Right. It's an extension of your home. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? You do.
You do.
It's not something you want to approach haphazardly.
No.
No.
Now, I've heard that like the size of the sunroom can impact whether or not you need a permit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the deal with that? Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
It all really depends.
Okay.
Because most cities have very specific size thresholds
Okay.
that trigger the need for a permit.
Okay.
For instance, Sunspace Charleston
Yeah.
mentions on their website that sunrooms over 100 square feet
100 square feet.
often require a permit.
Okay, so why 100 square feet?
Yeah, why is that the magic number?
Is there, yeah.
It's all about risk assessment.
Okay.
Larger structures have a greater potential to impact the stability of your house,
Or,
your neighbor's property, or even like utilities that run
Okay.
underground. So a small prefabricated sunroom might not raise any red flags.
gotcha.
But once you get into those larger custom-built sunrooms, that's when the authorities want to take a closer look.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's all about making sure that anything that could potentially cause structural or safety issues
Yeah.
gets the proper scrutiny. Now, speaking of scrutiny, I imagine local building codes play a huge role in this whole process, right?
Huge role.
Especially in a place like Charleston, South Carolina. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
Yeah.
Rich history, unique architecture.
You hit the nail on the head. Local building codes are the Bible
Okay.
for any construction project, and they can vary wildly from city to city.
Wow.
Even within the same state. I mean, Charleston, for example,
Yeah.
has a very specific set of regulations designed to preserve the character of those historic districts.
Right. So what might fly in one part of Charleston might not in another part of Charleston.
Yeah. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Always check.
You do, always.
Always check with your local building department.
Okay, so even if your neighbor across the street
Yeah,
built a sunroom without a permit,
right.
that doesn't mean you're in the clear.
Not at all. You got to do your homework. You got to contact your local building department.
Gotcha.
They're the ultimate authority.
They know the rules.
They know the rules.
Okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
Let's shift gears for a sec. Let's talk DIY projects.
Okay.
Let's say you are a handy homeowner. You've decided to tackle this sunroom construction yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that change anything in terms of permits?
It actually makes it more important.
Really?
DIYers, they often think they can fly under the radar.
And they're like, oh, nobody's going to know.
But building codes apply to everyone. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter who's swinging the hammer.
Interesting. So it's not just about avoiding those fines.
Right.
It's about safety, legality of the structure. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
It is. And honestly, getting that permit can actually benefit DIYers in the long run.
Oh, okay. How so?
Because they can have that inspector come out,
Uh-huh.
make sure they're on the right track,
Oh, okay.
prevent any costly mistakes.
Oh, that's great. So it's like having a built-in safety net
Exactly.
throughout the whole process. And then plus, if you ever decide to sell your home, having those permits in place
Right.
gives buyers peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It increases the value of your property.
It does. Now, I know some people might be a little intimidated by the permit process,
Yeah.
but it's often much simpler than they think.
Okay.
And companies like Sunspace Charleston,
Yeah.
with their experience navigating these local regulations, they can often handle all that paperwork for you.
Wow. So they take care of that.
They do.
Okay. That's a huge bonus.
It is.
Especially for someone who's maybe a little overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like having a guide.
Yeah. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
Yes, you do. It's like having a guide to navigate this permit maze.
Exactly.
Okay, so beyond avoiding fines and legal issues,
Right.
why should our listener really care about getting permits for their sunroom?
Well, think about it like this. A permit is an investment.
Okay,
It's an investment in your peace of mind,
sure.
in your safety,
Okay.
in the long-term value of your home.
Okay, all right.
It's ensuring that your sunroom is built to last structurally and legally.
Gotcha. I'm convinced.
Good.
Permits are a must-have, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
The whole process can seem a little daunting.
It can.
So where do you even begin? Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? I know you need one, but how do you even start?
It can feel overwhelming,
Right.
but honestly, it's often simpler than people imagine.
Okay.
And remember, we're talking about your dream sunroom here. A little paperwork's a small price to pay.
Very true. So where there's a sunroom, there's a way, right?
Absolutely.
But seriously, what's the first step?
First step, contact your local building department.
Okay.
You can usually find all their contact info online,
Okay.
or you can give them a call.
Okay.
They can tell you exactly what permits you need
Okay.
for your specific project.
Okay.
They can answer any questions you have about local regulations.
Okay, so go straight to the source.
Mm-hmm. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Ask them.
Ask them. Okay, so you've made that initial contact. What happens after that?
After that, it's time to gather your documentation.
Okay.
This will typically include detailed plans for your sunroom,
Oh, right?
information about materials you'll be using,
Okay.
a description of the scope of the work.
So they basically want to see a blueprint
Exactly.
of your vision, what you're building, and how you're going to do it.
They want to make sure everything is up to code and structurally sound.
Right.
Then you'll fill out an application form, submit it along with your documentation and any required fees.
Okay.
Then you wait for approval.
Easy peasy. So once you get that green light, you're good to go, right?
Well, not so fast.
Uh-oh.
Most building departments require inspections throughout the entire construction process.
Oh, okay.
That means an inspector will come out to
Okay.
your property
Okay.
at various stages
Uh-huh.
to make sure everything is being built according to your plans
Gotcha.
and that it meets all those safety requirements.
Ah, so it's not just a one-time approval.
That's not.
They're checking in on you.
They are, yeah. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? You do, and with that you get inspections.
Right.
It's about accountability. It's about ensuring that final product is safe and up to code.
Okay.
And let's be honest, wouldn't you sleep better at night knowing that a qualified professional has given you that thumbs up?
I definitely would. I would feel a lot better. Yeah, it's like having that extra layer of assurance that, like, my investment is solid.
Yeah.
Speaking of investments, you mentioned earlier that working with a reputable contractor
Yeah.
like Sunspace Charleston can really simplify this whole process.
Oh, for sure.
Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, experienced contractors like them, they know the local building codes, they know the permit process. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? They can answer that question and more.
Right.
They can handle all the paper mud, all the legwork for you.
Okay.
Save you a lot of time, hassle, potential headaches.
That's huge, especially for someone who's, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed. It's like having that guide
Exactly.
to lead you through the whole thing.
It is. And having a contractor with a proven track record like Sunspace Charleston, that can give you that added peace of mind.
Right.
Knowing that your sunroom is going to be built to the highest standards,
Yeah.
in compliance with all the regulations.
Awesome. Okay. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to something that you mentioned a little bit earlier.
Sure.
You were talking about some real-life horror stories about homeowners who decided to skip the permit process
Oh, yeah.
and ended up facing some major problems.
Yes.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. I remember one case, this homeowner decided to add a sunroom as a DIY project.
Okay.
Figured they could save some money by going it alone, skipping the permit. Well, everything seemed fine for a few years.
Yeah.
But then they decided to sell their home.
Oh, that's when things went south.
Yeah.
Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Apparently they did.
During the inspection, the buyer's inspector discovered that the sunroom hadn't been built to code.
Yikes.
There were some serious issues with the foundation
Oh, no.
and electrical wiring.
Oh, wow.
It posed some real safety hazards.
That's a nightmare. So what happened? Did the sale fall through?
It did. The buyer was understandably concerned about those safety issues
Right.
and the potential costs of bringing that sunroom up to code.
Oh, yeah.
The homeowner was left scrambling trying to find a contractor to make those repairs. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? They found out the hard way.
They sure did. What a mess.
Yeah.
And all because they tried to cut corners and avoid that permit process.
Right.
Do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
You do.
You do.
It underscores the importance of doing things the right way from the start.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. And it's a reminder that those horror stories aren't just urban legends.
Right.
They can happen
They can happen.
to anyone who tries to bypass the system.
That's right. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Don't risk it.
Don't risk it. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be diving even deeper into this whole process, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it's just not worth the risk. Financially or in terms of your safety, do you need a permit to build a sunroom? You do. So I know we've been throwing a lot of information at you today, but hopefully you're coming away with a clear understanding of why these permits are just so important.
Yeah, and if they're still feeling a little bit unsure, a little overwhelmed by the process, who can they turn to for guidance?
Well, as we've mentioned throughout this deep dive, Sunspace Charleston is a fantastic resource,
Yeah.
especially for anyone considering a sunroom in Charleston, South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and that area.
Mm-hmm.
They have a wealth of knowledge and experience,
Yeah.
not to mention a stellar reputation.
Yeah, they sound like the real deal. And for those who maybe aren't in that area, I would say, your local building department
Absolutely.
is a great resource as well. Do you need a permit to build your sunroom? They're going to know.
They will know.
They're the authority.
They're the authority on permits and building codes.
Exactly.
And they can provide tailored advice for your specific project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to ask questions. Gather all the necessary information and make sure you're fully prepared before you break ground
Exactly.
on that dream sunroom.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Always better to be safe than sorry, yeah. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Safe than sorry. All right, so to wrap things up, I would say the key takeaway here is this. Permits. They might seem like an extra hurdle,
Yeah,
but they're actually your best friend when it comes to building a sunroom.
they are.
They protect your investment, they ensure safety, and they just give you that peace of mind
That's right.
that everything is being done correctly.
Absolutely. And once you have that permit in hand,
Yeah.
you can relax, you can soak up those rays,
Yes.
and enjoy your beautiful new sunroom knowing that everything is safe, legal, and built to last.
Love it. All right, sunshine enthusiasts, that's it for today's deep dive into the world of sunroom permits. We hope you found this episode informative and, dare I say, illuminating.
I think we did all right.
Until next time, happy sunroom planning. And don't forget, do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Always.
Yeah, they really did. And it's a reminder that those horror stories, they aren't just urban legends.
Right.
These things happen.
They do happen to real people.
To real people, and it can happen to you if you try and bypass the system. Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? You do.
You do. Don't risk it.
Don't risk it. So I know we've thrown a lot at you, but hopefully you're walking away with a good understanding of why permits are so crucial.
Absolutely. And if our listeners are still feeling a little unsure or maybe overwhelmed, who should they turn to? Do you need a permit to build a sunroom? Where do they go?
Well, we've mentioned them a lot, but
Yeah.
Sunspace Charleston is a fantastic resource,
Yeah, they've got all the info.
especially if you're in the Charleston, South Carolina area. But, if you're not, your local building department.
Right. Right, to your local building department. They're going to have the answers.
Absolutely. They are the authority when it comes to...
You need a permit to build a sunroom.
That's right. And when it comes to permits, building codes, and they can give you advice that is specific to your project.
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to reach out to them, ask questions, gather all the information, and make sure you are prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Before you break ground on that dream sunroom, do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
Yes, you do. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Much better to be safe than sorry. So to kind of sum everything up, I think the big takeaway here is that Permits might seem like an extra step,
Yeah,
but they're really your best friend when you're building a sunroom.
that's right.
They protect your investment, they ensure safety, and they just give you that peace of mind.
They do. And with a little planning
Yeah,
and preparation, it doesn't have to be a daunting process.
very true. Very true. Think of it as a stepping stone
Mm-hmm.
to your sun-drenched oasis. All right, well, that is all the time we have for today's deep dive on sunroom permits. We hope you found this episode informative, maybe even illuminating. Until next time, happy sunroom planning, and don't forget, do you need a permit to build a sunroom?
The answer is always yes.
Always. 877-1287.